Sometimes I like to think of us as having four aspects. And the first aspect is the aspect of innocence. And this is a great quality that we must cultivate, but also be aware of. Our innocence is our open-mindedness. We're going to explore new ideas. We're going to throw ourselves into new causes with great fervor and vim and enthusiasm. But at the same time, we can be gullible. We can be tricked. We can go down byways that lead us nowhere, perhaps even backwards or downwards into the worst parts of ourself and the worst parts of life. I have so many friends that are deeply spiritual, but they're too open-minded. They've lost their critical faculties, and they end up falling for gurus who really have no spiritual acumen whatsoever, and sometimes are outright nefarious. And they waste their time. I call this the Eve aspect of the personality. It's gullible. It listens to anything that looks like authority that shows up, whether it's snake or God. All things seem to have authority if they speak with authority. They can't quite see the disreputable scoundrels that lie beneath the words that some people speak. But that innocence that we have within also is the source of all progress. So we also, along with our innocence, we have to cultivate wisdom. It's the second aspect. We have to have a wisdom to start to discern true teachers, true teachings from false teachings and false teachers. Wisdom is that adult part of us. It's the part of us that may be older than our chronological years on earth, our biological years on earth. There's an aspect to us. We may even say it's the residue from past lifetimes. That raises red flags when we're around certain people. It's an intuition. We may feel off balance. If you don't feel that around certain people, find someone who you think does feel that and trust what they say about certain books and certain people. Aristotle once said, find the superior man and be what he is. And sometimes you have to find the superior man or woman and take their advice. We're a society that values rebelling against authority, but that's juvenile, that's adolescent. A truly wise person can take advice from other people that seem wise. It's very important. The wisdom aspect of ourselves can be a little bit too cautious sometimes, a little bit too skeptical and cynical. We have to be aware of that. Again, all of these qualities we want to cultivate and at the same time be aware of. I call this aspect the Sophia aspect. Sophia is the goddess of wisdom. Next is the material aspect of our lives, where we have to take care of our physical body as much as possible so we have a vehicle that has energy to pursue what it is we do in this world, along with enough energy to be healthy enough to do the spiritual things we need to do. Of course, being sick can be a great spiritual boon as well, and that's an aspect of this type of existence. We are spiritual beings who have a physical body, and the physical body, when it's healthy, we can do a lot with it. But sometimes our spiritual development depends on us getting sick. Really, when you're down and out, when your body's wasting away, or if it's a psychological malady like anxiety, you start to look usually for divine explanations for why you're experiencing this, and your friends are out living a healthy, happy life. You start to say, how is that fair? And you either become an atheist or you start to consider something like karma or something along those lines. Whatever your genre of spiritual belief is, you tend to look for answers within that. But it's good to have a healthy physical body. The danger is we get too attached to it and we start to mesh our awareness with the physicality, which is going to fall over one day and not function anymore. So spiritual teachings have always said the only solution is to kind of jolt your awareness out of that physicality. I call this the Helen aspect, the beautiful aspect, the physical aspect of ourselves. We want to see the beauty in ourselves. We can become narcissistic about it, but we want to cherish our physical beauty. And then finally, there's the spiritual aspect to ourselves. And all of this to me is spiritual in one way or another, but it is that essence of spirituality. It's the aspect of our personality that looks towards divinity for guidance, for understanding when we're in a chaotic situation, when the world flips and inverts and is upside down. This is the Mary within us. These four women are the four women that form the substance of every personality, I think, what they represent, whether you're man or woman. I don't know if Carl Jung would agree with me. He also talked about Eve, Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, Helen, the goddess, we might say, of beauty. I know she wasn't really a goddess, and Mary, mother of God, our spiritual aspect. It's these four that really can, if you start to pay attention to them, let's say you're journaling every morning, start to go through, ask myself, am I being open-minded enough? Have I become closed-minded? Am I exposing myself to new ideas? Am I being wise while I do that? And make sure I'm finding true teachings that'll really help me become what I want to become. Am I taking care of my body? And am I too attached to my body? Yes, I want my body to be highly functional. I want to, like Socrates said, to really experience life, you need to maximize your physicality, make it as beautiful as possible. It's good to feel vigor and strength. Leonardo da Vinci was supposedly extraordinarily strong and healthy and virile. We all want to feel that. But really, we need that Mary aspect of us, the spiritual aspect of us, to be incredibly active and fulfill our life with joy, fill our life with hope, and by cultivating these four qualities, we can help other people feel better. You'll just start to emanate this goodness when you walk into a room. When you're open-minded, when you're not too open-minded, you're wise. You can discern good and evil and charlatans from authentics. When you feel physically robust, or even if you're feeling bad, you have a certain spiritual understanding about it where you're handling it with grace. I've seen people dying from cancer that just handled it with so much grace. They came into the room, and even though you knew their time on this earth was numbered, the way they handled it made you feel good, and you knew they were dying. And then if you have a spiritual bent, or let's say a spiritual pith, like the core of you is that Mary, the mother of God, you rely on divinity. It helps you stay even keel in a world that's fluctuating in turmoil, almost regularly, frequently anyways. The world's going to flip upside down. It's a sea upon which the boat can sail very calmly for months or even years at a time, but a storm's going to come along. And you need that spiritual aspect when everything else fades away, right? And the spiritual aspect helps you develop wisdom, helps keep you open-minded, and helps you relate to your body. Okay, so it's Eve, Sophia, Helen, and Mary. Just something to think about.